Or is that enough? So, Boris Badenov, can you say moose and squirrel? Natasha. Okay.
Which takes place during the gold rush, and even has a character from Sacramento. You can find links to that now on the screen. Series, and our Facebook group. Just on Facebook, we have a group called Captain. Well, here is Jonathan Biss at the piano performing with the Orpheus Chamber. It starts our piano and taking about 2
Well, good evening, pipe pals and gals. You know, genders in between. Holy Smoking Pipe Padre. Yes, the one, the only. Holy Smoking Pipe Padre here with you. And again, I'm smoking that wonderful Wild Atlantic. It's the tuna in spring water. And delicious. Thank you, Dave. Mr. Dave H. Thank you, sir. Still enjoying that gift that you sent me a little while ago. I almost cracked open this Irish Dew. And it was kind of a toss-up between these two tobaccos. And I was thinking about, it's a really dark night out. It's technically not winter yet, but it's doggone close, let me tell you. And I've been hankering for a pipe. I have been hankering for a pipe for the last, week at least. Come on now, come on. Hey, what's going on here? Here we go. And but I've been extremely busy. I drove all over Northern California last week. And I just had a whole bunch of stuff going on. And of course it was the election. Yes, it was. So, we'll talk about that in a minute. I was going through looking for some things. And I just happened upon this Canadian. I think it's a Canadian. Sure looks like Canadian to me. And I think this was a gift from a guy, I think it's a Comoy. A dear friend passed away several years ago named Francis Lee Elliott. God bless Francis Lee. We used to call him Flea. Flea for short. And he was quite a guy. And he sent me a whole bunch of pipes. And I think this was one of them, because I don't remember this being in my collection. That I have my own personal collection, and I have a couple of things that some people have sent to me over the years. The only other pipe this could be, and I'd be absolutely amazed, but I don't think it is. It's one of my brother's pipes, because I think I've got all of those. In fact, I had some of them restored. But anyway, well, this, on second thought, maybe this is. Anyway, it was laying on the desk. I think I told you the story about the Zippo last video, where this lighter, I'm assuming it was in this box. And this box was in another cardboard box somewhere else. This was sitting underneath a shelf in a closet. just sitting there waiting to be discovered. So I don't know how it got out of the box, if it was in this box at all. Because when I opened this box, this was empty. And again, this box was in another cardboard box somewhere else in the house. Anyway, I don't know how it works. Mysterious things are. But I guess we pipe smokers believe in all that's seen and unseen. Yeah. So anyway, I'm back here. This will be my November video. Maybe I'll make another one later. I don't know. A week ago, Tuesday night, we had our election. The first round of the election, I guess. It's still going on. I know that probably some of you, as along with the media, are declaring that Joe Biden, I guess he's just Biden his time, is the president-elect. And yet, it seems at this juncture, this is probably going to rub some of you wrong the way, but it very well could be that Mr. Biden is not going to be president of the United States. I mean, it's a possibility. Now, is it a strong possibility? You know, who knows? But it looks like there has been election fraud, and that's all I guess I'll say about that. So, you know, it could be anything. You know, it's a toss-up right now. Now, again, the media and people that are, shall we say, anti-Trump people are, you know, as far as they're concerned, it's a done deal and the man's president and go ahead, and it seems like they're even trying to get him to start legislating and acting like he's the president, you know, the inaugurated president. And the thing is, dear friends, on this November 11th, happy Veterans Day. Also, by the way, happy 245th birthday to the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah! Hoorah! So, hoorah and hooah and all that gungy stuff for all you Marines out there. Happy birthday. A day late. And then also a very blessed Veterans Day or Remembrance Day if you're in Canada, UK. So God bless all of those who have served. So anyway, we will see. We will see, dear pipe friends, what we shall see. You know, I mean, I wouldn't be totally surprised if there's an upset. There's certainly a precedent for it with Al Gore and George Bush in 2000. But we have to remember that the votes have not been all tallied. A lot of the irregularities and possibly fraud are being weeded out as we speak. And nothing's been certified. So anyway, there you go. So we'll see. Maybe by the time I make this, we'll be having a smooth transition to our new administration. Trump too. We'll see. But anyway, and I might have said this before as I make this video. I won't maybe go as long as I normally do. But, you know, a couple things I was thinking about our illustrious Donald J. Trump. You know, he has accomplished a lot. Now, to be sure, there are some people that could care less or they don't want to acknowledge his accomplishments. That's fine too. But, excuse me, but an objective person, and this is one of the things that I learned in the United States Marine Corps, the very first service that I joined. Later I joined the Army in high school, in college, Army ROTC. And I was able to get my first commission as an officer, as an Army officer. But it all started with the United States Marine Corps, December 6, 1973, platoon 3119, 3rd Herd. Things you remember, Just like yesterday. Just like yesterday. Not so mean, not so lean, but still a Marine, right? Okay. But what was I going to say? But the one thing I learned, and I think it has helped me in my life, some of those things that you learn if you learn them, and if you learn them well, they will serve you the rest of your life. They become part of your character. And part of that was being objective about human relations. In other words, if you say you're prejudiced, whether you're based upon religion or skin color or philosophy or orientations of what flavor, whatever you are, you learned that, okay, I may not agree with this person, I may not even like them, but I do have to work with them. In other words, I have to have a relationship with this individual because we're a part of a unit, we're part of a team. In America, at least the America that I live in, and hopefully you live in still, is that you can respect people for whatever, wherever they're coming from. And you may not, but doesn't mean you have to subscribe to what they believe. And I learned this. I learned this over and over again in life. Even later as a full-fledged chaplain. In the Marine Corps, I was a combat engineer, and then I became a chaplain's assistant because I wasn't very good as a combat engineer. Almost blew people up with my demolition handling skills. I'll just put it that way. People got really nervous when I went out to do a demolition series kind of thing. It's like, get that guy out of here. He's dangerous. He's going to kill us all, do I put this blasting cap in here like this? Anyway. So, but I learned, and I'm grateful I learned, that you don't have to be somebody's best buddy to work with them, to be cordial, to be civil, to be constructive, to be positive, And I later I learned that you don't have to, again, especially as a chaplain in the military, you had to work with different denominations. And I think for the most part, I learned how to do that. Now there was one guy when I became a chaplain and I was in Bosnia. He did not. He made it very clear he didn't like me. He just came right out and said it. And I said, well, okay, you may not like me. I said, I don't have anything against you, but he had a lot of animosity towards me because he found out that I was a former, I won't mention the religionist's name, but before I became Catholic, and he just felt that was terrible, that I would have left the denomination I was originally baptized in to become a Catholic and then a Catholic priest. And he was honest with me, and I said, well, okay, I appreciate your candor. I said, but you have a mission, I have a mission, and we have to work together. And he I'd have to say, he kind of got down off of his high horse. And I think I remember we kind of became, I wouldn't say buddies, but we started working together. But it was sort of like one of those lessons in life that you had to realize that, again, you have to be objective with people. Now, if somebody's attacking you and trying to hurt you physically or hurt your reputation, and they're just not willing to work with you, well, then then it changes everything. That kind of becomes something different. But you can be friends with lots of people, and you may not like what they believe or stand for or their lifestyle, or you agree with their religion. Maybe you can find some common ground. perhaps. But at the same time, you don't have to say, oh, I agree with you 100%. I don't. And nobody agrees with me 100%. And in the America that I live in, and hopefully you live in, that's okay. That's what it means, I think. Out of the many, one, okay? We become one nation, one country, okay? But there are a lot of people, I think, today who, for whatever reason, they just want to look at this country as being all bad and evil, and it can never be salvaged. All it can be done is torn down, and let's start with socialism, maybe. Well, good luck with that one. Talk about, an intolerant, system, okay? So anyway, but I think that with President Trump, getting back to him, if you were a boss, if you were somebody that was looking at him and saying, okay, let's see, what have you accomplished? Okay, now he made lots of promises, and he kept a lot of promises, okay? Now, you may not like some of the things that he did, but he was trying to better America. He wasn't trying to dismantle or even destroy America. Now, again, you may not agree with his agenda for America, but at least he was trying to put America first. And there are a lot of people now who want to see a one-world globalist society emerge. And if you've studied your Bible anytime at all, you know that basically ushers in the Antichrist. And it very well could be that we already are living in the latter days. Could very well mean that. So, God's will be done. But the problem is that a lot of people were angry at Donald Trump, and I think because, again, it's sort of like I used this analogy before, it's like a really bad divorce. And when you're going through that, let's say you're divorcing somebody, and they become the worst person in the history of the world. I've seen a lot of bad divorces. And it always boils down to, both sides just loathe the other person. A person that they swore to love until death do they part, and now it's they hate them until divorce do they part. And it's sad. But eventually what happens is people get over that. Hopefully, well, not everybody, for sure. But I'd say the majority of people that are going through those kinds of splits, and it can even happen in families with brothers and sisters and between siblings and parents. I mean, there can be horrible rifts. There can be horrible, falling outs that are just terrible. They just will never talk to each other ever again, and it's sad. But anyway, but usually what happens is people will begin to put aside their rancor, their hyperbolic, hatred of the other person, and begin to say, well, okay, maybe they'll be a good parent to their kids. I don't like them. I don't want them in my life anymore, but I still have to work with them because of the kids, okay, for the most part. So for the sake of the children, they become, at least they have a relationship that is not so hostile and hateful. And I think a lot of people have been, unfortunately, brainwashed, forgive me for saying that, to hate somebody they don't even know, okay? It's kind of irrational to have such animus towards a human being that you don't even know. I hate that guy. What has he done to you? And unfortunately, there are just too many people that have been brainwashed by the media to hate this one person who's actually not a very bad person. He's not a perfect person by any stretch of the imagination. And let me ask you, if you find a politician that's perfect, you let me know, okay? You just put a little comment there, well, this politician's perfect, Unfortunately, I had a friend of mine, when I became a chaplain, went to Germany, went to Europe, to get ready to go to Bosnia. Yeah, wonderful Bosnia. And it was right around, this is 20 years ago, right around the Clinton impeachment thing, the Monica Lewinsky thing. And my friend who's from Poland laughed. He says, when will you Americans begin to understand and accept the fact that your politicians aren't ever going to be morally perfect. They're human beings. Get over it. And I thought that was a very good insight. At first, I kind of bristled at that. I said, how dare you? We Americans, we have only the best politicians. Well, I don't know about that. If anything, Donald Trump is pretty much what you see is what you get. He's not trying to be a perfect politician or, some, paragon of virtue. He's not. But I think he's done a good job. And you may choose to disagree with me. And you know what? Again, it's a free country. You're allowed to do that. Isn't that wonderful? But here's what concerns me, dear friends, my dear pipe pals, is that now some of the people that are, clamoring for Mr. Biden to be the president come January, 20th, 21, be sworn in. They are now saying that they want to make a list, and depending upon who you listen to, it's either we want to punish these people by one, not letting them have another job, like your resume is completely shreddable now. Nobody cares about you, and you're never going to work again in this town, or you're never going to work again, period. To actually, and I've heard them say this, they would like to round up Trump supporters and pretty much execute them. Now, where have we heard that before? Just think of the Bolshevik Revolution. Okay, just think of any time communism begins to rear its ugly head. You got to go beat up the people that you consider your enemies and eliminate them. And that's a scary thing. That is a real scary thing. Now, I know some of you are going to say, yeah, but when Obama was elected, there was all those conservatives and everything, and they were in the streets and they were burning things down and rioting and breaking windows. And really? Seriously? Never happened, folks. Never happened. Were there people that didn't like President Obama? You betcha. I might have shared you with this story before. Forgive me if I've shared it with you too many times, but it's just one of my stories. I think I even shared it last video. Well, here it goes again. Reruns! Yay! When President Obama was elected, I was in the mailroom. I was a prison chaplain. After I got out of the Army, I came back and worked as a prison chaplain. And one afternoon, I had to go over to the mailroom to pick up some mail. And a lot of the people in the mailroom were African-American people. And they were doing their job, sorting mail. And I went in there to look for some mail. And they had the TV on. And you could see that most of them were just absolutely overcome with joy and emotion. They were just, wow, they were emoting everywhere. Isn't this wonderful, And I remember when President Obama stood to take the oath of office, all those black people in that mailroom, they stood up. And I think everybody stood up. Now, I was sitting there and I was counting my mail, and I probably could have just sat there as my little, way of being passive aggressive and protesting, and kind of like, well, he's not my president. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, and I wasn't afraid someone was going to beat my butt, although they might have. Who knows? They could have called me a racist and a bigot and a white supremacist and all that stuff. They could have done that, but that wasn't why I elected, because I said, regardless of the man and his agenda, he is going to be holding our nation's highest office. So at least out of respect for the process and the office of president, if the president walked in here, let's say President Obama was still the president, would I treat him with contempt and refuse to shake his hand and maybe utter some kind of an epithet of, you piece of crap or something. I don't have to respect you, that kind of thing, that kind of contempt that so many of the people have shown President Trump. I don't know if I would do that. I think I'm the kind of person who would still be respectful and courteous. I'd try to be an adult. I would, anybody. If he came in here and needed a place to stay, I'd say, hey, I got a couple of nice rooms here. There you go. Let me know what you need. If what kind of food do you eat? I'd show him hospitality and respect. And I remember standing with everybody else, and I had to say, it was a historical moment, and I have no problems, showing that kind of respect. And I prayed for the man. I prayed that he would be a good president. I don't think he was a good president. I think he sold our country out in many, many ways. I know that he feels that the country was founded on, evil racism, and it was just, we're never ever going to get beyond that. There are a lot of people now that are just kind of holding that as a club to beat everybody else up with, and it's like, it's wrong. Something happened 160 years ago that ended 160 years ago. It's kind of irrelevant. It's like, okay, that happened to some people. Lots of people were enslaved, and it was wrong. But to punish other people who were not alive at that time and have never had any ancestor that owned slaves, that kind of a thing, it's just not right. That's also injustice too. To punish somebody who did absolutely nothing for a crime that you think they did. It kind of sounds familiar, right? A crime that everybody was trying to find a crime to pin on this president, our current president. Well, and they never found one, did they? And they tried, and they tried, and they tried. And I think that the mail-in voting, and I'll say this, I personally believed it was going to turn out this way, because they set it up. It was like, I hate to say it, I think they did set it up for cheating. I told one friend, well, they stole it fair and square, And but I think that they're being caught. I think they're being turned out. I think people are kind of waking up to the fact that this was rigged. There was some tomfoolery that was going on here. And I want a legitimate election. I'm sure you do too. And when they do the recounts and they get rid of all the fraudulent ballots, and if Mr. Biden turns out that he won, then I have no problems with that. No problems whatsoever. As long as I know it's a legitimate election. But I'm afraid, and I know that some of you are as well, concerned that there was some irregularities and some illegitimate ballots being cast. I hear a lot of people who are no longer walking this earth actually voted by mail this year. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for one. At least I heard that. So, here we are on Veterans Day. And again, I think I might have said this also last video too, is when we think about veterans, we think about the people certainly who served and those who paid the price for freedom. Freedom's a wonderful thing. I'm grateful I have freedom. I can say what I'm saying right now. Now, maybe 5 months down the road, my videos might be used against me, saying, well, he was this and this and this. He was a Trump supporter, and off to the gulag you go. It could happen. But in America that I live in, you have the right to your free speech, as long as you're not, using it to hurt other people. You can say, hey, I disagree with you. I don't agree with you. I'd say, and you don't have to agree with me. But, again, in the America that I live in, we have different people who come from all walks of life. And the beauty is, for the most part, when it works, people can, find ways to get along. They may not always agree 100% with each other. Who does? But the thing is that you can be respectful. You can be courteous. You can be friendly even. You can smile at people even if you don't agree with them. I tend to like people one-on-one. I may not agree with people politically or other religiously, obviously. But that doesn't mean I have to, hate you because you don't agree with me or you don't see things exactly the way I do. And that's kind of immature, to be honest with you. That's a real sign of, well, I don't know if it's a sign of a sick mind, but it sure is a sign of somebody being pretty immature. Because you have to be willing to, respect people. So anyway, I just think that people have not given the proper respect for President Trump. Now again, here another thing too. We have also been conditioned in the last, 20, 30 years probably that, people like Trump, President Trump, who are leaders, okay? They may not be they're not perfect. They're not paragons of virtue. They're not going to be canonized, saints tomorrow, but they're leaders. And we kind of have gotten to a point where everybody gets a participation trophy. Nobody wins, nobody loses. Everybody's equal. Well, that's not reality, folks. There are some people that are, taller than I am. There are people that are 6'2", 6'5", 7'1". I'm not equal to them. I'm never going to be equal to them. There are some people that are, not as handsome as I am, but, that's okay. I still accept them. But the thing is that, again, and people have different abilities and talents, and it's okay. But unfortunately, we kind of gotten to a point where, if somebody has certain talents, like leadership, and sometimes leaders, just like in the Marine Corps or the Army or the Navy or the Air Force, Air Force is, civilians in uniforms. Sorry, guys. But I mean, but in the real military branches, just kidding. If you're in the Air Force, I'm just messing with you. I love messing with people in the Air Force. Anyway, no, I have a lot of respect and I have a lot of appreciation for my Air Force brother chaplains that I met. Good people, really good people. But anyway, where was I going with that? But leadership, especially when you see it like whether it's in the military or in sports, somebody has to make decisions. And you have to have decisiveness. And decisiveness and leadership is lost when you have to have consensus by everybody before you do anything. Sometimes a leader just has to get out there and lead. And I've seen great examples of that. I've seen other examples where people who, were dictators, who more like they were dictators. Okay, yeah, we don't like those kinds of people. But President Trump is not a dictator, okay? He's a leader. And sometimes leaders say and do things that they're not friendly all the time. They're not hard. They might sound harsh. They might sound kind of inconsiderate, Now, again, another thing too is I know some people are going to go, look at his tweets and he's such a bully and everything. Well, let's face it. A lot of people have attacked him first. They started attacking the man before he even became the nominee for the presidency. They were relentless, and so what Trump was basically able to do for the first time, instead of being Mr. Nice, he kind of put it back in your face. And people weren't used to that. Well, you're not playing fair. You're supposed to let us pick on you and make fun of you and insult you, and you're supposed to just stand there and take it. No, sorry, doesn't have to. And, he kind of broke the mold. As he said in many of his rallies, I'm not a politician. I'm not the politician that all these other people are. They don't. It's like, well, I'm going to listen to my own drummer. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for you, and I'm going to fight for America. And I think that's why a lot of people loved him. And the other thing, I'll just kind of close with this. I said, look, and I'm sorry, folks, but there's something that's just not right. When you saw those thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people at those rallies, and then you saw in the early returns that President Trump was ahead in those 5 states now that are probably going to have runoffs and recounts. He wasn't just squeaking by ahead. He was significantly ahead. And then, and this is the curious thing, the fishy thing, they stopped counting in the wee morning hours. And why did they do that? What prompted them to do that? I think because they saw that if it just went along, that Trump would have won clearly. And they realized that this was their last chance to stop it, to stop a Trump victory. And again, I think they did it through shenanigans. They were playing some pretty deceitful politics. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So maybe at the next video I make, we'll have a real determined winner, not just one that is projected by the media, but a real certified winner. The votes will all be in. And whether it'll be Mr. Biden or our beloved President, Donald John Trump, or, well, I guess those are the only two choices we got right now. I don't think it's going to be Kanye West. But you never know. You never know. Something could happen. Anyway. So, regardless, I think what happens, in some ways, again, if the stakes weren't so high, and if it was just like, when I was a kid growing up back 40 years ago, it didn't really matter so much. One party wins and the other party will be out for a few years, maybe 4 or 8 years, and then the next time maybe they'll have there'll be the other party will come in. Okay, fine. But I think there's a lot more serious stuff riding on this election. I'm afraid that too many people really do want to embrace socialism and eventually communism. On one hand, when in the olden days, yeah, you could be really politically involved and you could have a lot of vitriol and, you could say all these blood-curdling things. But at the end, you realized, if you lost, you lost. And if you won, you won, and usually things kind of went back to, okay, sorry I said the things that I said. Didn't really mean it. It's okay, let's work together kind of thing. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing I'm hearing some pretty alarming things that the people who, if they do win, if the other party wins, I'm nervous because, they might say, well, he's one of these religious bigots. Let's close down this church and arrest him and put him in a concentration camp. Could happen, Might be a good idea to revisit the day in the life of Ivan Denisovich, by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Gulag Archipelago, anyone? I'm telling you, we may be going down that road, and that's scary. In the olden days, you could, like I said, it was sort of like a sport. It's like the World Series or the Super Bowl. You get your team and you get in there with all the gusto and you back them for all they're worth. And if they win, great. If they lose, they lose. And, but all the trash things that you talked about, your opponents, at the end, it was like, well, it was just talk. It was just talk. But I'm afraid there's a lot more than this is just more than just talk. I'm afraid they really want to hurt people. And they've already shown that by going out in the streets and burning things down and killing people. Some people have died, threatening people, taking away our basic fundamental rights. That's not an America I want to live in. Again, I want to live in America where everybody is free and everybody is free and everybody is equal. Now, again, equal opportunity, maybe not equal outcome, but that's what they're trying to do. That's socialism, equal outcome. It's like, well, if you got 3 TVs, I get 3 TVs. No, not necessarily. No, well, why would you want 3 TVs anyway? One's enough. But anyway, I'm just hoping that civility will return. Good old American civility. Maybe we ought to take these warring factions, political factions, and teach them how to smoke pipes. Literally, have a peace pipe, okay? Share, that's one of the nice things about working with people and trying to see beyond your differences. And it can be done. It has been done in the past. It may not be perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. But now people want to just completely go the opposite directions and almost like, okay, you're the bad guy now. We're going to come after you. And I'm hoping that we have people in our society on both sides that when it's all said and done, when the smoke and the debris is cleared, that, they're still going to, at the end of the day, be respectful human beings. Time will tell. Okay, dear friends, thank you for listening to me. And if you haven't had a chance to have a nice pipe, a nice autumnal pipe, let me encourage you to light up your world and light up your pipe. We'll see you next time. Take care now. God bless.